Okay, good morning to everybody. I'm just going to activate TikTok here and we're going to get started. We're now live on all platforms. Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo buddhaya, namo dhammaya, namo sanghaya. So good morning still to all of you. Here in the US, it is now 4:44 a.m. That means Venerable Chidel only had 5 hours of sleep. And something's going on with the live on Facebook primary account here. So today's going to be a very important talk, and I just wanted to capture this moment in time about a lot of these questions to the point where it just runs in the back of my subconscious mind. I couldn't really sleep. When you lost a loved one or a child. This is why I have multiple media going at once so that these things fail. Just give me 1 second. So for all those who are joining on TikTok, almost 200 of you guys, this morning's talk is going to be about when you've lost a loved one or a child. This comes by meeting a couple people in public and some inquiries from on my inbox. And okay, so we're live on all platforms right now. Thank you all for being patient, bearing with me through some of these technological issues. So once again, today's talk is about losing a loved one and or a child. So yesterday, while going to John's Pass, I was approached by a fan. She was a female student. And so I get this from time to time walking in public, and then people are like, I follow you. And we take this picture. However, yesterday was unique because I got to also meet um, the mom of the student. And the mom told me about uh, her daughter passing away due to addiction. So now she is advocating for the addiction aspect and trying to save as many lives, bring it to awareness about addiction. Um, I think I've waited quite a long time to give this talk because it weighs heavy on my heart. Furthermore, a couple years ago, perhaps 4 or 5 years ago, I was at Venerable Yuthatamo's meditation public event, and I was approached by a woman who told me that her son took his life. And that was captured on video. I never published it, but I was glad that it was captured on video because I didn't even know where she came from. The public event was very crowded. Um, and I just turned the corner and here's this woman in a black baseball cap, um, approached me very sensitive, very emotional. And sometimes, being a monk, you don't know what's going to hit you. Um, and I'm pretty sure talks like this, someone out there is going to write a book, maybe perhaps myself. Um, and the book is going to be titled The Heart of a Monk. It's because some of these questions and inquiries weighs heavy on amongst heart. Now, this particularly hits a special note with me because you all know that I lost Jacob Hall, Hall, in 2016, my best friend. And I'm very close to Jacob's mom. Matter of fact, we've been communicating over the past couple of days, reconnecting. So she's a mom and she lost her child, which is Jacob, and I lost the best friend, which the compounding factor as to why I became a monk. So of course, when people ask these types of questions, it's difficult to address because it hits me emotionally. It brings back memories, and one has to be very skillful when broadcasting in front of the entire world how to deal with such loss. Um, and of course, the teachings that is accompanied with this type of question is it's not sometimes can be perceived not very sensitive from a Western aspect of level of sensitivity. Everyone knows that the Theravada Buddhism teachings is very straightforward and is a difficult pill to swallow, even for me. And I willfully, knowingly um, chose this tradition for that fact and matter because it's straightforward, clinical, and beneficial. So I'm going to try my best, and I will ask for forgiveness in advance if today's talk becomes a difficult pill to swallow for all of us, including myself, as I relive certain memories in my mind. Uh, Today is about all of you who have recently lost a loved one or a child. And also forgive me for this broad talk because I don't know the audience at hand as I'm live across all social media platform. And some people may have just lost someone recently, very, very fresh and very, very recently. So their state of mind is going to be different than someone who've lost a loved one years ago. Again, um, the job of a teacher, skillful teacher, is to try to meet the student where they're at. This is why I conduct one-on-one counseling to meet certain individuals where they're at based upon their level of suffering, um, aptitude, and current state of mind. So the first thing is every time when we've dealing with a loss of a loved one, which can also include a pet too. I'm here in the West, a loved one, a human, a family member, or a pet. It just feels like this great death and loss in one's life. So the first thing bringing to attention is the stages of grief and mourning, as described by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And in my mind, the best way to remember it is DABDA, DABDA, and it's maybe I should punch it in on an academic DA, because it goes in different stages for different people. So it includes denial, anger, bargaining, acceptance, and depression. Stages of hold on grief by Elizabeth. Okay, here we go. This is why every time when I approach something, I want it. Okay, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I think I hit it right, right? All right. So each one of you guys are going to go through these stages differently, and you may stop at one for a very long time. Okay. So for me, anger was just the longest one. When I lost my grandmother in 2015 and Jacob in 2016. And I think that anger is going to be a prevalent one for all of us because we can't believe that our loved one was taken away from us so quick, so soon, and why. And that's going to sit for a while for most of us. Now, the difficult pill to swallow in Theravada Buddhism in answering this is that people are subject to their karma, whatever they've done in their last life. Whatever they've done in their last life constitutes the ripening of karmic result and effect in this lifetime. I am confident that Jacob was not an evil person in this lifetime. He was loved by so many. He done so much for so many. And his life was taken short at age 21. So trying to trace the dependent origination of his life, I have no choice but to resort to that explanation that I just gave to all of you, which is whatever happened in his previous lives, with an S, lives, it caught up to him in this lifetime. And it's really difficult to accept that, because he was such a wonderful angel. And likewise, I'm sure all of you all have memories of your loved one, and those who are listening are people who have lost a loved one. And if you haven't lost a loved one, just wait for it. It will come. I'm sure most of you all have families and friends and pets, and I have little Bailey running around here. And it is part of the first noble truth in Buddhism, is that we are subject to birth, old age, disease, decay, and death. When Buddhism prepares us for that, Buddhism prepares us for the detachment. Buddhism prepares us to love in a non-attached way, to cushion that fall when that fall does in fact come. And also Dr. Susan, who I used to work with, consult with for future events, her son also passed away through a tragic accident. I believe it was on a jet snowmobile. I believe I remember. It was a snowmobile that flipped over and he passed away on their property. And I don't have a biological child, so I can only imagine. I just can only imagine that type of an impact. And one of the reasons why I became a monk was because of that impact that ripped me apart, tore me apart, inside out, outside in. And this talk comes directly from last night's talk when Bree of Virginia asked me about rebirth. And for some of you all who have been following me for so long, gauges my personality, engages the style of teaching and how I teach. Some teachings can be quite fiery because it just prompts back some of these memories. And the impact of the loss of my grandmother follows the day after. So she died at night at Northside Hospital. That morning, when I realized that she wasn't gonna stand there in that corner like she always does, waking me up, that was when it hit really, really, really hard. And that hurt was unlike any other painful. It could be described as the most mean knife you have ever seen and felt with your fingertips. And it just stabs the heart. It just kind of rotates. And it just rips every vein out of you. And I think this is an accurate adjectives to describe when you lose a loved one, and especially accidental deaths and the manner and certain manner of deaths. It's just that. It's that it's very indescribable until you feel it, until you felt it. And it wakes me up, and it wakes all of us up, does it not? That we I that it just, wow, never ever want to feel that ever again. Now let us bring into attention the COVID times when people have lost an entire family. I've lost much sleep during those times because I got to hear these stories when people lose an entire family, months apart, weeks apart, and days apart. And it's like, how do you explain that? And those people are still trying to make sense of it all until this very day. Um, the so there's different types of deaths out there, and once death have already taken place and have ceased, your loved one in death, once death have ceased them, taken them, the only thing comforting, I would say, is they no longer suffer in this lifetime, physically and mentally. We know that part of being human in this lifetime is that everyone suffers mentally in some way, shape, or form. The depression, the anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, all of the DSM 5, ICD 10 diagnosis that a person could, in fact, be subject to from time to time. Um, and of course, again, it's from various types of death, manner of death, cancer, car accident, suicide, gunshots, victim of random acts of violence, victim of a crime, tragic accidents like a car going into the river, just so many ways. And there was a violent death that a mom shared with me where the son was working and a crane, a crane, they have that ball and it was swinging back and forth and it hit the child in the head. It's just some of these horrific stories. When we do death meditation, there's three questions that a person reflects. How will I die? Where will I die? When will I die? And I think the when and the how will I die is supposed to shake people up. And for those, I mean, say, and then the other thing is that people don't study death and manners of death. And in my life growing up, I study death. There's something on my mind because subsequently we know that's for certain, right? Taxes and death. At a very young age, when I worked as a jeweler in these places where I had time to myself, I would sit there and open up the newspaper and read the obituary. I came across a lot of articles, and it just reminds you of, wow, this is a possibility that I could die just like this person. And the manner of death is what's scary. Why is fear? So I don't know my view, my all everyone that is tuning in, the manner of death of your loved one. Hopefully, they passed away peacefully on their bed, in their bed, on their bed. and just closed their eyes and passed away into the bliss of nirvana. So the five stages of grief is, you're gonna go through it, and it takes tremendous amount of time, years and years and years. I decided to veer towards Buddhism because I needed to heal quickly because the impact was great, and at the time of my grandmother's death and the time of Jacob's death, I was an interpreter. I still am an interpreter serving all areas of law and medicine. So I needed to keep myself sane, alive, to serve the people. And it was very difficult in those times trying to remain mindful, keeping clinical notes, and just trying to keep it together so that I can carry out my capacity and duty as a legal and medical interpreter effectively. Trying to keep it together to help my mom pull through it, trying to stay strong in the face of such adversity for the sake of my mother. Subsequently, my mother objected to psychotherapy, and all of us went down hard. Subsequently, I became a monk and had to take a 1 year break from all of my jobs. So, but the choice of choosing Theravadan Buddhism is just that. It's that I realized that I'm falling. I've hit the ground. I really need to get, there is something inside of me that said, you need to choose the working philosophy quickly to heal quickly. You must get back up quickly. And I understand for all of you that the word quick will not be appropriate. And now I understand clearly at age 37, you know, 9 years later, that we humans take tremendous amount of time to heal. All of us heal differently. How I heal is not the way that you heal. The way you heal is not the way how I heal, and so is our neighbors and brothers and sisters out there in the world who are going through the same things. Humans take a long time to change. Humans take a long time to accept. Let's give some examples of some of these stages of grief and mourning. And I invite all of you all to buy the book by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And if you Google Stages of Grief by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, it will come out. So let me see if I can give some good example here. Denial is, no, they're not dead. They're still here with us. They're still here with me. Um, in the case of my grandmother, I was in denial, and the mind will do that to protect you. And I lost my wits when the cremation process took place. When they took her body out, number one, I said I just wanted to rent the casket. Didn't have a lot of money to buy a casket, nor do I want to buy one anyways because it was a waste of wood. So I said, Eric, the funeral director, I said, I just want to rent a casket. So they took her out of the casket and they put her in this cardboard box, and it was very visibly cardboard. So, some of these images were quite like, oh my goodness, she's in a cardboard box. And then I looked at her body, her face, and the monk blessed her with water. So, the flour and the water. So when he did this, the water hit her face and it looked like she was crying. So that did not ease the image. Then, as she went into the crematory, and the moment that hit me was when I hit the button. The funeral director asked me to hit the button, And that's when I realized that dissolution of the body was going to be quick. So I had no the denial thing just comes back again, and now at this point it's very difficult to deny that she had died and that she was not going to be here anymore. The dissolution of the body will take place during this process. So the denial is going to happen again. Different stages for different people. Anger, a lot of anger, because we expected them, and then the anger comes because of the unfulfilled expectations and unfulfilled wishes that it's not going to play out. If you have children, you expect them to grow up, grow, smile, develop, get married, have kids, children. It's just whatever it is, the fulfillment of a child's life cycle, the completion of one's life cycle, the gradual life cycle. For the case of Jacob Hall, and for all of us that stood on that beautiful dock with all of us beautiful human beings, we all knew what all of us wanted to do in our life. We were ambitious. We knew what we were going to do for a living. We know that we were going to travel all together. And when I realized the day that all of us gathered at his dock and those unfulfilled wishes were never ever going to come true, or that if it took place, Jacob wasn't going to be in the circle, then you will move towards bargaining. And we are predominantly Christian here in America. So there's this interplay in our head of bargaining, which is, please take me. Please take me instead of my son. Please take me instead of my daughter. Please take me instead. I would rather die than to see them died and experience this pain, sorrow, and grief, lamentation. We will do that. The bargaining process sometimes could lead one to be very suicidal. So be aware of bargaining, because we love them so much we couldn't bear the loss, and we would rather have this bargaining thing in our head to ease that pain, the attachment. Depression is going to be the longest one. Depression is recycling of the past, going back in memories, and perpetuating and cycling through some of these previous mentioned stages. The mind is a very violent thing. It's a very vicious thing. And it will take you on this roller coaster for a very long time. It is important that you all seek a grief counselor. Funeral homes have them for this fact. Oh, I realize I need to plug my laptop in. Everyone, give me 1 second real quick. Okay, it's done. So I'm just giving a broad general explanation of some of these stages, but I really want you all to read the book, because the book gives so many examples on there, so many types of deaths, and so many examples of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And moving forward is going to be the most important thing, which is what can we do about it in regards to they have already passed away. How can we honor their life? What can we do about it from a Buddhist standpoint? And elsewhere in the world and across all three schools of Buddhism, there's something called transferring of the merits. Transferring of the merits. And merit is defined as when you do good deeds, and you accumulate these merits, kind of like karmic currency is what I describe it. Karmic currency, a karmic bank. And you share this currency with your departed ones in hope that they would take favorable rebirth, in hope that they would rejoice and not suffer long in the realms that they are going to be in. There are many actions, and acts, for example, that my people take and do. For example, they would go out to the market and they would buy this fake money, hell money is what we call it. They would buy these paper clothes, so all these things, they would buy them, and then they would burn them. And they would burn them in hope that the clothes and the money that they have purchased will subsequently enter the hell realm or enter the heavenly realms so that their loved one can enjoy the long dress, the traditional long dress, enjoy the currency. Now, whether that image is true or not, we don't know. All of us, because we're still alive, right? We wouldn't know until we're dead and someone burns, the dress or the money, and then we're like, oh well, money just appeared. I'm in heaven now. I just got an extra $100. Let me go spend it in heavenly stores. But what is of clinical benefit is the act of giving more and taking less, and the act of contributing, thinking about other people versus oneself. Now, the significant part in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, Vietnam, is that they go to the monastery and they give and they give and they give, and they spend a lot of time taking the precept. They take a lot of time meditating. Any and all acts that constitutes accumulating merits and subsequent sharing of that merit. Um, and such act is very comforting to the departed and the survivors of the departed. And part of me being a monk, and I'm not asking you all to be a monk, was that because I was born and raised into the sharing of the merits. Lam phước, making merits. And we heavily believe this, and I heavily believe it. That's why I'm still a monk, of which, when I go to bed at night and I review my day, my week, and my month, and I said, when we say to ourselves, when we says, this is the typical thing that we say to ourselves is, yeah, I'm doing this for the benefit of other people. I'm doing this for the benefit of my departed. That I'm keeping the precept, that I'm meditating, that I'm trying to cultivate a pure mind, abolishing bad deeds, cultivating good deeds, adhering to the advice of the Buddhas. So I just wanted to read some things on buddhanet.net about sharing and dedication of merit on an academic understanding of it. Merit means skills. When you have skills, you can share them with others. In the ordinary sense of the word merits means that which you can sell or to buy from others. You are promoted in your job or academic level according to your merits. Similarly, in the spiritual field, the things that you do promote your peace and happiness are called meritorious acts. It is these acts that elevate your spiritual level and lead to the attainment of enlightenment. These spiritual merits are committed with a pure state of mind which follows you as your own shadow, which never leaves you. When you do vandana, you do it with a pure state of mind. You admire and appreciate the qualities of the triple gem and wish to emulate and adopt them in your life. When you make such a conscious effort to espouse them, your mind creates room for them and you endeavor to live a life similar to those noble ones who are the embodiment of peace and happiness. Having cultivated these noble qualities, you wish to share them with your dear ones, known ones and even unknown ones. Sharing what you highly appreciate and admire with others is a very generous and compassionate act. Therefore, in Buddhist tradition, sharing merits with other is also a meritorious deed, which is called the dedication of merit. Rejoicing in others' merit also is considered to be meritorious. This means you support and promote the wholesome thoughts, words, and deeds of oneself, as well as those of others. As you do this with pure intention, this kind of wholesome deed is called wholesome karma. In Pali, Kamma, Kamma. What you really do in your vandana is make an effort to cultivate the thought of practicing the Noble Eightfold Path by accepting the Triple Gem as your only guide and determining to practice the precept. You lay the foundation of morality. By contemplating the qualities of the Triple Gem, reflecting on the nature of all conditioned things, and reciting the verse on right concentration, you develop the spiritual atmosphere to take steps in the practice of meditation. All these are meritorious thoughts. In memory of the deceased relatives, people perform numerous merit sharing ceremonies in order to purify their own mind. They may give something to religious places or to the poor, observe the precept, or teach the Dhamma. Some people may even become ordained for a short period of time and stay in monasteries. Having done one or more of these things, relatives perform a ceremony in 7 days, 3 months, a year in memory of the deceased. We're almost done reading. Before the ceremony starts, lay people fill a pot of clean water and keep it before them during the chanting. They also have two bowls, a small bowl inside of a larger one. Towards the end of the ceremony, the relative or friends of the deceased pour water from a pitcher or a teapot into the empty bowl placed in the larger bowl, saying, "May our departed relatives share these merits. Idang no natinang hotusukita hontunya tayo." And let the water overflow into the smaller bowl. Symbolically, overflowing water signifies the generosity of living relatives or friends. Water represents life, so there is life where water is. Water in this ceremony also represents the merit without which none can be peaceful and happy, just as without water none is able to survive. Just as water gives beings life, meritorious deed give beings vitality to live. The empty cup represents the deceased relative or friend who is empty of happiness. Just as the cup fills up with water, so the mind of the deceased will be filled up with joy and happiness after sharing the merits. Of course, not all the deceased will be in a position to share our merits. Only those who are born in an unfortunate state of existence called spirit who subsists on the offering of others can share our merits. During the merit sharing ceremony, verse are called or recited by monks or nuns at the end of the pouring of the water into the empty cup. This merit sharing ceremony, according to the Tirokutta Sutta, was introduced by the Buddha himself in order to help King Bimbisara of Magantha in sharing marriage with his deceased relative who have been reborn amongst the spirit who subsists on the offerings of others. That concludes the academic reading of the sharing of the merits. So I hope you all would reflect on today's teachings. And again, I offer one-on-one counseling sessions so that it does this type of talk and explanation more justice as to the manner of death and when they have passed away, and what can we do so that our life is less empty, and to live our life in honoring those that we love and miss so dearly. And in my suicidal days, where I could have taken my life, I've decided not to take my life. And how would Jacob want me to live my life, and how would my grandmother want me to live my life? And chosen this path, I honor both of them. Every day, when I'm serving other people, dedicating my body, speech, and mind for the benefit of other people, their memory lives on. And so I invite all of you to ask yourself how you can live your life in such a way to honor your departed one, because you know your departed one, and you know their wishes and what they would want for you. But they would want you to be happy. They would want you to complete that degree, get that job, go after your aspirations, travel the world perhaps, and carry on. And not to much in depression, be so much in grieving and mourning. I also invite everyone to also read up on the sharing of the merits, particularly in the Theravadan tradition, by visiting buddhanet.net, access to insight.org, and dhammatalks.org. Obviously, today's talk is not going to encompass comprehensively everything that governs how to deal with a loved one. But I hope that this provides some explanation as to why they departed, and so quickly and so soonly. Why so quickly? Why so soonly? Why so soon in our lives? And hopefully you all heal slowly, gradually, through time, and through Buddhism will help you on a speedy recovery so that you can go back returning to a normal life. And sometimes that's even difficult to comprehend what a normal life is without them. The fact that they have departed us reminds us of impermanence and how right the Buddha was when he says all things conditioned is subject to impermanence, that not everyone lasts forever. We must learn to walk alone and to be our own island, to save ourselves. And all of us need to also contemplate on when will we die, ourselves, us, and in what manner of death is going to take place for us. So to live a virtuous life, to live a life of morality and ethics, a good life, a good death, and we want to ascend into the favorable rebirth realms. We want to become arahants and we want to become Buddhas so that we can, quote, save our loved ones in some way, shape, or form, visit them in that realm, and preach the Dhamma to them in that realm. There's a lot of uncertainty and unknowns because, once again, we haven't died to be in those realms. Relying on sources such as Buddhism gives us some clue and idea, hope, comforting. Studying and practicing the Dhamma give us hope that we're sharing the meritorious deeds, dedication, and sharing of the merits to our loved ones. Southeast Asia, across those countries, they rejoice in happiness. The fact that they give more and take less, I did not see anyone shed a tear in the two funerals that I witnessed in my short 2.5 weeks in Laos. Because those families lived according to Buddhist principles. So let us reflect on today's teachings and feel free to reach out for those who are in need. And please do reach out to grief counselors in your region, area. You can find them on psychologytoday.com. Find a therapist. It's okay to ask for help. I know that all of us is strong, but at times we do need the assistance of other people to help us through these stages of grief and mourning. And I myself received a total of 6 years of counseling to the various psychologists, to the various therapists in my life to help me heal. So I've been on both sides of the chair as a patient and chair as now the teacher. So I know you all are strong, the strong moms and dads and sisters and brothers that you are, nieces and nephews, grandson and granddaughter. But it's okay to ask for help. It is courageous to ask for help and to say that I can't do this on my own. I need the help of other people. The coming of together in unity of community to be there for one another is important. So reach out to communities, faith, religion, sangha to help you these tough times. So I'd like to conclude my talk for today and my condolences to all of you, my deepest condolences to all of you as I share that mutual feeling that I once experienced. And I hope that Buddhism, what it did for me, it can do for you to help you find that comfort, solace, and the strength to pick yourself back up and to move forward courageously, victoriously, to make sense and meaning of their death and to make sense and meaning of your life after they have died. And lastly, all of us should strive to be an arahant and not to come back into the human realm and experience this ever again. I don't ever want to experience all of the painful stuff that I went through in this lifetime, not just deaths, but the other types of suffering in this lifetime. And I have made a firm resolve to study and practice in such a way to attain near arahantship, if not arahantship itself, the fourth stage of enlightenment, the final stage of enlightenment. So it gives us something to do, the checklist in Theravada Buddhism. It gives us a checklist to go straight forward, knowing what we have to do. We were lost. We played around with our time. We were foolish. We were ignorant of the Four Noble Truth. And any sort of deaths, any types of deaths, wakes us up quickly. And how much we did not know about death, how much we did not know about attachment, how much we did not know about the path to nirvana, and how to study and practice in such a way that we don't, that once you become an arahant, no more mental suffering. No more mental suffering. That's very comforting to know. Now, the 84,000 teachings, it also helps you develop this shield from the bows and arrows of life. It's exactly those bows and arrows that we all have experienced and lately. So once again, may you all be well, be happy, be free, and always be healthy. May you be healed and be a significant source of healing for other people. May your loved one take favorable rebirth. May you all reflect on the sharing of the merits. May you reflect and take action quickly in making merits and dedicating that merit to your loved ones. May you reflect on the emphasis of time, that the problem is we think that we have time. May you reflect on the triple gem and what it can do for you and your departed ones. Satu, satu, satu. Okay, I will see you all on the next live video, and you all can reach out to me. My email, the number 1 Vietnamese interpreter at Gmail. My direct cell phone is 727-637-3490. Thank you all for being wonderful listeners, and hopefully I speak to you all soon if you're in need of counseling. Okay, take care.